I turned 5 randomly selected household objects into virtual avatars, also known as PNGTubers. When it comes to content creation and VTubers, most people think it's all anime catgirls, expensive models, and excellent physics. But I'm here to prove that on the internet, anyone can be literally anything, even a toaster. But what would a toaster PNGTuber actually look like? Well, to find that out, I decided to look up some reference images to get some inspiration. I had no idea there was such a wide variety of toasters available. There was this one that kind of looked like it had a cute face on it, and this one that looked a bit like a clown, or maybe even a punk with the toast hair spikes. But then there were some crazy ones, like the bread prison, or this croissant holder. Croissant? I can never say that word properly. In the end, I went with this one. I know it's kinda plain, but I needed something that was instantly recognisable and easy to work with. So with the reference in hand, it was time to start making the art for my talking toaster. Now, perspective is hard, especially if I'm just eyeballing everything, so I decided to cheat a little. I used the symmetry tool to draw it flat and then transformed it into shape afterwards. I mean, I could have just traced the image, but where's the fun in that? Besides, the imperfections are part of the charm. Everything went pretty well until it came time to draw the toast. For some reason, I forgot what toast looked like. Don't ask me how. I think I was dropped on my head as a baby or something. But yeah, I had to use a reference image for that. Once the sketch was done, I decided to colour everything in and split the art into different sections based on what parts I wanted to add physics to later. I was saving the face for last because I wasn't really sure what kind of face I wanted this guy to have. I spent the whole drawing process trying to figure out what sort of person would actually choose to be a toaster on the internet, which might sound weird, but I'm pretty sure there's at least one person out there who's considered it. It might even be you weirdo. I ended up going for this silly cute face because I think it just fit the general vibe. I think if a streamer wants to be a toaster, they're bound to have a fun personality to go with it, right? The kind of person who apologises after beating you in Mario Kart. Not me though, you can get wrecked. With the art done, it was time to add some physics, so I booted up PNGTube Remix and got to work. Although, this was only the second time I've ever used this program, so I'm still trying to figure it all out. Which meant I made a bunch of mistakes. Like messing up the layer order. It's an easy fix though, thankfully. Typically with human characters, I try to add a subtle breathing effect, but I mean, toasters don't breathe, right? That would be weird. I didn't want it to just sit there though, so I gave it a little bit of motion, just enough to convince people it's alive. I don't know, I like it. Next, I wanted to try and add some animation and physics to whatever this slidey thing is called. Like, what even is that? I don't know toaster anatomy, but yeah, I accidentally sent it into orbit somehow. I did fix it though, and then I remembered that on a real toaster, the slidey thing is what makes the toast pop up and down, like it's connected to a tray thing. So I had to make the toast move with it. I just used the same settings, but I also wanted the toast to fly up when the toaster speaks. I just thought that would be funny. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it to do what I wanted. The toast wouldn't fly out as high as I hoped it would. Even messing with the settings didn't really do much. I thought maybe if I added some squash and stretch to the toast instead it'd help, but I mean it just ended up looking like sliced jelly instead, which is kind of gross. After about 25 minutes of rigging though, I had something I was happy with, so let's see how it looks. And here we are! I shall call them Little Toasty. Oh, look at the cute little face. I bet they'd stream Nintendo games or something. Yoshi! Now, what if you're someone who doesn't have the art skills or money to make a PNGTuber model? Would it be possible to make a model for free without drawing anything? Well, I wanted to find out. And my chosen object for this experiment? A good old-fashioned toilet. Now, if you want to try this yourself, you should absolutely use your own photos or images, or at least make sure you have permission to use them first. But I didn't do that. I used Google Images. So do as I say, not as I do, alright? In fact, I actually wished I just used photos of my own toilet for this because it took me longer to find a suitable image on Google than to make the actual model. I couldn't find any images where it was just two toilets side by side, but when I did find those kinds of images, they were always front facing, which, I don't know about you, but if I were to hop onto Twitch and the stream I'm watching is just staring at you the entire time, I mean, that would be creepy. I did eventually find something usable though. It's not perfect, but it'll do. I put it into Clip Studio Paint and removed the background, then put them on top of each other on separate layers. Next, I wanted to add some eyes, and I already had a good idea of what I was looking for. You see, one of my favourite games as a kid was Banjo-Kazooie, and if you've ever played that game, you know that there's all kinds of weird and wonderful characters in it. But also, more importantly, a talking toilet. Although it's more of an old school toilet with the high tank and the chain flash, but it has these googly round eyes that pretty much every character has. So I went back to Google to find something similar and found these. But then something happened. I forgot to minimize the webpage in OBS, so the rest of the footage is just this on the screen. Professional YouTuber, by the way. Don't worry though, because I redid the entire thing just for you, so you don't miss anything. Anyway, I pasted the eyes on a new layer and then thought about where to put them. Logically, you'd think they'd go on the tank, but actually it wouldn't really work because, well, yeah. They'd get smashed in every time the toilet opened its mouth lid. So I tried putting them on top of the tank and they were okay, but not really silly enough for me. I mean, it's a talking toilet. I want full stupidity here. In the end, I split them and put them either side of the tank, which made me think of Sid the Sloth, so it was basically perfect. I added a little bit of shade under the eyes with an airbrush. I know I said I wasn't going to draw anything on this model, and technically I didn't. Wafting an airbrush around doesn't count. At this point the model was basically done and usable, but there was one thing that was bothering me about it, and I had to fix it. It was too white. Another reason why I should have just used a photo of my own toilet instead. I decided to colour in the toilet seat with a brown wood colour just to break up the white. And again, it's technically not drawing because I used my mouse. After 20 minutes of work, if you exclude the part where I had to redo everything, the model was finished. So, let's see it in action. Oh my god, this is quite possibly the dumbest thing I've ever made. Yet somehow I can actually see someone using this. That's crazy. But what if you're someone with a little more class? Someone with elegance and grace? Of course you don't want to roleplay as someone's bog on the internet. That's too crude. Not to mention, I'm an artist, and this is an art channel, so let's try painting something fancy. I wonder what a teacup PNGTuber would look like. So once again I went to Google Images for some references and ideas. I wanted to find the poshest, fanciest teacup possible. Unfortunately, most of them seem kinda small. There wouldn't be much room to put a face on it. But then I found the most beautiful teacup I have ever seen. Although it might have been because of the tea inside it. Like, come on, that is a good cup of tea. Now, I don't think I've ever tried digitally painting a real object before. In fact, I don't remember the last time I tried painting a real object at all, even traditionally. So I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, but I was going to give it my best. The saucer was a bit of a mess, but to be honest, no one was really going to notice once the model was rigged and moving around, so I wasn't really worried about it. My favourite part was when I did the main section of the cup. In the reference, it has a really interesting shape to it. The bottom has these sort of bumps at the base, and the handle is also pretty unique. I did struggle to paint those bumps at first. They kept blending in with the bottom of the cup, but eventually I figured out how to make them stand out by adding a subtle blue reflective light. Ooh, look at me, so fancy. When I painted the tea inside the cup, I thought it'd be cool to add a reflection of the flowery pattern on the tea itself. It looks great, but in hindsight, I wish I had this on a separate layer. You'll see why later. In total, it took me about an hour and 40 minutes to paint this entire cup, and I don't know what happened, but it looks so good. I am massively proud of myself for how well it turned out. I draw cartoons, not fancy teacups. I should do this more often. But now I had to give this teacup a face, and, well, let's just say this kind of thing is not my specialty. I wanted to try giving her some beautiful, elegant eyes, but she ended up looking like a drag queen. I guess that's kind of iconic in its own way. I was aiming for high sophistication and ended up with a contestant on the next drag race. Once the art was done, I was excited to put some life into my new creation, so back to Remix I went. This time it was pretty straightforward, especially after learning from all the mistakes I made with the toaster. I made the saucer drag behind the cup so when you speak, it feels like there's some weight to them and they're clearly separate objects. I also added a subtle rotation to the cup and made the tea gently slosh around inside it. This is where I realised the reflection would have been better on its own layer. Anyway, I quickly finished rigging our new queen, so let's see how she looks. Oh my god, I love her, even if her face is all messed up. This turned out way better than I expected. She seems like the type to play The Sims while giving out dating advice to her viewers, and I love that for her. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this video so far, then tap the subscribe button. I post all kinds of creative nonsense, so you don't want to miss out. One of the biggest challenges I have with myself is communicating emotion and expression without having a mouth. I have to rely on my eyes and body language to express myself. So what would happen if I applied the same restriction to, let's say, a lamp? But first, I have to find an interesting lamp to work with. And let me tell you, there are some interesting lamps out there. This one's a headless goose for some reason. Most lamps look like rejected modern art projects. But then, I found this. It had a nice shape, was a good size, and I liked the pattern on it. Instantly recognisable as a lamp. And, just like the teacup, I wanted to try painting it. So again, I sketched out the general shape with the symmetry tool, but this time, I tweaked the proportions a little. I thought it would make the character more interesting if I exaggerated the silhouette a little. It's still very clearly a lamp, it's just more lamp than before? Is that even a thing? Anyway, I thought it would be a really cool idea to use the lamp's main function as its mouth, meaning that instead of having a visible mouth that opens and shuts when you talk, the light turns on and off. So I painted the light effects on its own layer, and it actually turned out really good. I especially liked the little highlights on the top of the base. Even just toggling this layer to test how it would look got me all excited for the finished result. Probably the first time I've ever been excited over a lamp, but I guess there's a first time for everything. The last thing to do was add the eyes. And this time I opted for these kind of stylized looking ones with the lashes built into the eyeballs. I don't really know how to describe it. The only downside is I didn't know how to draw them closed for blinking, so I just didn't give them a second set. They can't blink. It is what it is. Anyway, with the art done, it was rigging time, and it was probably the easiest so far because I didn't want to do too much to it. The most difficult part was making the lamp feel alive. So I added some squash and stretch effects to make it feel like it had some weight to it. It's unfortunate that I couldn't get too expressive with it, but I still think the overall idea was really cool. I think this is the object I relate to the most, since we both have to communicate through body language. It was definitely a fun experiment and made me think about how I can push my own persona design further. But that's for another time. Let's hear how our lamp turned out, shall we? Oh my god, I actually cooked with this one, it looks so good. And they have the grumpy eyes, so you know they're either a League player or like someone who does 16-hour-long Path of Exile streams. This is basically sunlight to them. For the final object in this video, I decided to head back to the kitchen to tackle TV chef Nigella Lawson's favourite appliance.
The microwave?
I mean, at a glance, it's just a box with a door on it, right? So how could I turn this into a content creator? Even looking up references didn't really help me out much. They're all just different flavours of rectangle. So I decided to think outside the box. No pun intended. You see, I wanted some whimsy. Microwaves light up when they turn on, and I've just made a lamp that lights up when it speaks. So what if I took that concept and pushed it further? What if, when the microwave speaks, you can see a tiny little object inside spinning around? I know, I'm a genius. But what kind of object should I put inside it? I had to think about it while I drew out the microwave. I didn't want to put something boring inside it, like things you would actually put in there. You know, bowls, plates, cups, that kind of stuff. No. We're full on whimsy maxing here. I thought maybe a creature of some kind, but then I was worried that people would be upset with me for putting a puppy in a microwave. Definitely don't do that. So I thought about the general streaming culture and the kind of people who are a part of it. I thought about global Twitch emotes and memes and wondered, what would the people really want to see inside that microwave? And I found the perfect candidate. I mean, look at them. Don't you just want to stick them in there and watch them slowly cook alive? No? Just me? Well, I'm doing it anyway. The thing is though, I've never tried animating a rotating object before. I guess there's a lot of things in this video I'm doing for the first time. But this was the thing I was most excited and most terrified about. To make it easier on myself, I drew a really simplified glop so there was less moving parts to worry about. Then I used Clip Studio's animation tools to make sure it looked okay and see how the animation played out. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. And good enough is all we need. I finished colouring in the art and moved back to Remix for rigging, but not before converting the glop frames into a sprite sheet. Now, I have experience with sprite sheets, but not in PNGTuber Remix. I just assumed it all worked the same way. It did not. For some reason, little glop did not want to stay inside the microwave. So I switched to a program I actually have a lot of experience in, PNGTuber Plus. Check out my tutorial. In no time at all, our tiny green friend was doing exactly what they were created to do. So now all that's left is to see this model in action. Oh my god, look at it go. This is amazing. This is the greatest thing I've ever made. I've peaked. I've actually peaked as an artist. Whee! So that's 5 household objects successfully transformed into 5 content creators. If you want to try out these models for yourself, you can download them for free on both my Ko-Fi store and my VGen. I have the links to both in the description. I also do custom PNGTuber commissions if you're interested. I'm trying to save up for a new computer right now, so any support would be massively appreciated. Otherwise, let me know in the comments if you'd like me to make another video like this and what objects you want to see me draw next. But that's it for now. I've been Nulvo, and you have been fantastic. Goodbye!